was 2020. I just started a career as a music teacher in secondary school, and my son had just been born. And as you all probably remember quite fondly, it was a pandemic as well. Now, being a secondary music teacher, I ended up teaching in maths and English classrooms, which I don't know if you can also picture that, but wasn't the best scenario trying to teach music to Key Stage 3 kids who just wanted to play instruments. Coupled with that, I wasn't able to go to any of the scans during my wife's pregnancy, and this combination of challenges led me to be diagnosed with depression. I was actually really fortunate that my wife swapped roles with me. I became a stay-at-home parent. She wanted to start her career, so after I'd finished a year of teaching, I was actually lucky enough to spend more time with my son, and then I decided to go back to university and start studying for my master's. And that's where Pieces of Depression became a thing. It was my final work for my master's, and I needed to come up with a large project, a large body of work, and I came up with the idea of creating 10 pieces based on the symptoms of depression. The piece you heard is piece 1, In the Balance, and that is the first of the 10 piano pieces based on the symptoms of depression. So this first piece, just to talk briefly about what it represents, it begins with a really repetitive minimalist motif, and that's meant to represent someone going through a mundane, normal life. You know, they're happy, they're content, nothing is really challenging them, and then all of a sudden in the middle, hopefully you picked up that something changes, something happens, and this is the emphasis of the depression. Something's starting to sneak in, and then this carries on for a little bit, and then eventually they try and return to the original motif, their original life. But something slightly different, something slightly changed, and that's represented through some of the chromaticism, some of the harmonies that you hear. And that's really a theme for the entire series of pieces. It's all about how you can take music and represent the symptoms of depression. Now, I found that this was an issue because when I started doing research into mental health and classical music, I found there really is not much representation of mental health out there through the classical music. Sure, various pieces written by composers who have struggled with mental health, and equally various pop music, all that kind of music you'll listen to regularly, but maybe touch on the topic perfectly. But classical music, there really wasn't anything out there. The examples I have up of art you can actually go and visit in museums and art galleries, Tracey Emin's My Bed, Van Gogh's Bandaged Ear, both representations of mental health that people will go and happily visit in galleries. People can interpret that art and process it how they need to. But what if someone uses classical music to interpret their emotions and their feelings? I couldn't find something out there that does that, and I thought it's a really interesting challenge to try and provide that myself. So, I took the World Health Organization's fact sheet of depression, which lists the symptoms that they identify as being symptoms of depression, and I wrote individual pieces about them. I did leave out change in appetite, because I thought that might be quite an interesting and difficult one to represent musically, but the rest of them all became a very interesting challenge and formed part of the series of music. To give me a place to start from, I actually used Schubert's key characteristics, which focuses on the tonality and what emotions and what kind of thoughts and feelings he thought applied to those different keys. And that gave me a starting point of, okay, I'm going to write about this symptom, I should probably look at using this key. So it gave me a really clear starting point, and then the rest of it is developing the ideas out of there. So we're going to listen to the third piece in the series now, The Composer. And this one is actually quite personal. It's probably one of the only ones in the series that I really thought about how I felt when I was suffering with depression, hence the name The Composer. It's meant to represent a loss of pleasure and interest in activities and poor concentration, and it's based on a composer trying to write a piece of music. He starts with an idea and he starts to develop it, and he gets a bit carried away and he makes it too difficult, and then he starts to lose interest and lose concentration, and he stops. He tries to start up again and doesn't quite play it right, and then he gets completely thrown, he gets completely distracted, and just plays something completely brand new. And then he realizes he's lost concentration and he needs to circle back. So he returns to the starting melody, starting motif, and just tries to build on it and finish a piece, this time slower, this time more focused. And this was very much a representation of how I found myself composing when I was depressed. So the thought occurred to me, and especially when I was thinking about writing this TEDx talk, is there needs to be more representation of this. There needs to be more composers or musicians or people willing to try composing, expressing their lived experiences, providing a resource and opportunity for someone to be able to understand maybe what they're going through or what someone else is going through the form of classical music. So TEDx is a really brilliant platform to say, if you do have the ability to compose or are interested in trying, I couldn't recommend composing pieces based around a lived mental health experience enough, because it just helps not just yourself, but other people out there. Another important thing about the pieces is if someone doesn't agree or doesn't feel like a certain symptom is represented to them, as long as they get something else out of it, if they think it represents a different symptom, if they gain a different understanding, then to me, the work has served a purpose. And that's what I set out to do. It's there to provide support and a resource to people that need it. Now, the whole of the piece's depression isn't about focusing on depression, negativity. It's also about focusing on the positivity and the side that comes out of it, the side where I am now, but I'm able to deliver a TEDx talk and talk about what I went through having depression and writing music after it. So it's a really, hopefully, nice message that actually, if you're going through a mental health issue right now, there is a way out of it, and can be a really positive way out of it. It can certainly improve you and make you feel like a better person. And the way this is summed up through the music is the final piece, piece 10, is all about the path that follows. It's also got in brackets therapy, and it's not necessarily about people having to find therapy or go down that route, but it's just finding that way that actually, whatever you've gone through this journey, all these different symptoms, all these different experiences, there is a way out the other side, and you can be positive. Thank you.